Good morning, everyone. I would like to start this program by offering my sincere pranams to His Holiness Sri Sri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji and bowing at the lotus feet of Lingaikya Jagadguru Sri Sri Tivaratri Rajendra Mahaswamiji. Today we have an eminent person with us, Professor K.S. Suresh, who is Chief Executive at a JSS Law College. Sir is also there as our executive member in our university's ICC, Internal Complaint Committee. You will pay attention when it was mentioned earlier. Anything related with harassment, especially sexual harassment or any atrocities towards women or anybody, you can lodge a complaint to the chairperson of ICC, which is a statutory body of a university. Sir is the executive member of that. And sir is also in our malpractices and lapses committee. So I don't wish any one of you to see their meeting, sir. There is not at all a good choice. So don't do that. Sir is also in many universities board as executive member related with lawyer. Professionally, is a lawyer, and also sir has been involved in training police officers, administrative officers in various institutes, creating awareness about different laws, especially POSH, that is prevention of sexual harassment and atrocities at workplaces. So we are happy to have you here, sir. I call upon Dr. Shubha to welcome sir with the sapling. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, I leave the stage to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Very in the early morning, I'm not supposed to expect a kind of a group which is so dull in its spirit. It can't be. Anyway, as Dr. Hema spoke about me, I'm here to in fact share some of my experiences as far as actually the sexual harassment is concerned and the ragging is concerned. These are the two things a very new entrant into any other colleges I should know. One is ragging. The other one is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment actually wasn't a problem actually earlier, but of late actually there are plenty of actual cases which are coming up, and I happen to be one of the persons to inquire into it. In the last 15-20 years, I've inquired nearly 100 cases of ragging and sexual harassment, and I've also seen the consequences actually of such incidents. Most of the students actually suffer. Just 15-20 days ago, I went to one of the very reputed institutions of Mysore, which I do not want to name, where there was a kind of a very bad ragging incident that had taken place. To be more specific, where some of the seniors actually had given a haircutting actually to the juniors. Very odd kind of a hair. Tirupati Chaura ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ, that kind of a haircutting actually was given. And the ones who were harassed actually were not in a position to even come out actually of their rooms, at least to go to a saloon to get a neat haircut. That was the situation, and it was immediately reported, and the college actually was struggling as to how it must be looked into, because that is a very tedious process. They have to inquire into it, collect actually evidence, and prove it that actually these people have done it, and subsequently give some kind of a punishment. And I have asked to, in fact, actually take part in the proceedings. I just went and said, according to the provisions of law, simply hand over the case to the police. The police actually do their job. Once a student actually is handed over to the police, I'll tell you, his life actually will become a big misery, because the police actually will harass in the sense, in the process of actually investigation. I'm sure I'll tell you, nearly a dozen of them, all of them actually from a particular state, would suffer actually next at least 4 to 5 years. Their education journey is almost an end. I don't think they'll be able to, in fact, continue the process. Why actually I'm quoting this experience is, many a times, many of the students actually, knowingly or unknowingly, get into this kind of a problem. Get into this kind of a problem. That is why in induction program, this is the third or the fourth actually induction program. Tomorrow in the University of Mysore School of Engineering, I'm going there, where this kind of actually awareness is created, where you should be extremely careful as to how you should actually conduct yourself. Today, the topic that has been given to me is sexual harassment at the workplace. So you might work, sir. This is not a workplace. This is a place where we study. So the very idea actually of this act was brought into existence was in 1990s. I'll tell you, a woman actually was so badly harassed. In front of her actual husband, she was raped by certain of the big wigs of that particular village in Rajasthan. When she tried to file a case, the police actually were reluctant to register a case because the offenders were so strong, the police actually could not register a case. Then she had to struggle. At last, actually, she could register a case. But however, in the trial court, uh, all those actually offenders got acquitted. The case actually could not be proved. Some people like you who are actually watching this filed an appeal actually in the High Court and also a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court. The High Court reversed the case and Supreme Court laid down certain of the guidelines. Any woman actually goes to work in her workplace, there could be some kind of actually sexual harassment. Therefore, there has to be a law which the country doesn't have now. At least make a law so that actually women can be safe also in a workplace. That was the direction given by the Supreme Court in 1996. And the Supreme Court said, as early as possible, make a law. And our wonderful government actually took 16 long years to make a law. Right? In 2013, actually, we made a law. But in the meantime, Supreme Court knew that actually the government is not going to make a law very soon. They had laid down certain of the provisions as to how these cases should be dealt with, what are the responsibilities of the employer, and what is the punishment that need to be given, etc., etc. This is one small piece of legislation, I'll tell you, which takes care of these things. The question actually comes into picture: what exactly is sexual harassment? Because many of you do not know what is sexual harassment is, unless and until it is clearly spelled out as to this is sexual harassment and this is not. So that actually you can be very clear in your mind as to how you should actually conduct yourself in future. It is a kind of an unwelcome verbal or non-verbal, visual or physical conduct of sexual nature. It could be a verbal, actually, kind of a statement, a non-verbal through gestures, a physical one, a non-physical one, where the conduct actually should be substantially of sexual in its nature. You're all grown up actually students. I do not have to explicitly mention what actually kind of an act actually can be said to be in the nature of sexual nature. So look, these are the things. Sexual comment or sexually determined behavior. Any kind of a comment actually which is sexually in fact overloaded, or a kind of a sexually determined behavior. Your gestures, your movement, your activities, I'll tell you, will clearly indicate. Any person, actually, a grown-up person actually can find out when he looks at actually a person, when he's behaving in a particular manner, he can certainly say whether actually he has sexual overtures or not, right. So therefore, you are not actually school kids where I have to explicitly mention, look, this is that. Not necessary. You can actually understand. And leering at somebody's body a suggestive gesture, right? When you look at a particular person, especially a woman or a girl, you look at her actually in such a way and tell you the very look itself actually is also a kind of a sexual harassment. In looks, there are various kinds. You got my point? If you simply look at a girl, that is why in 2013 we added actually few more offenses, right? Our Indian Penal Code, now presently it is called BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. There in 2000, because that was actually a 170 years old law. Macaulay drafted it actually in 1830s and it came into existence actually in 1860. It was still in existence till last month, right? And we added actually several other provisions. There actually one particular actually provision, new offense was voyeurism, they call it. If anyone actually, any person follows a girl and where the girl actually is not interested actually in talking to them or accept the proposal, that is an offense. Earlier, if a boy actually followed a girl and continuously followed, and the girl actually feels threatened and goes to the police station to file a case, policeman actually was in a very, very difficult situation because he was not having any provision of law to book a case against him. He would only warn the boy, don't go behind her. If you want to go before her. That's all he would say. Right? Because there was no provision at all. Now, 2013 we added, and now it has become a system. So I'm not thereby saying that you should not actually go behind a girl, right? Nothing wrong in going behind a girl. But the only thing is a girl. This is a problem, I tell in India, this is a problem because I happened to ask actually a couple of American students who had come here. America is a very free society, I'll tell you. And sexually, they are not very rigid or traditional or something like that. But we don't actually find many of the cases actually sexual harassment. Why it is so? They said, unlike Indians, I'll tell you, they make they meet a girl if they like means they go and talk to her. Look, I like you. If she says yes, okay, they go ahead. If she says no, forget. He will start actually finding somebody else. right? This is it. In India, to strike the first conversation, it might take actually 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, but even actually close your actually force and go. I wanted to talk to that girl 10 years ago. What to do now? It was not possible. Anyway, now she is married with a kid. Let me speak to her. Something like that. This is the kind of thing. There were, this co-education is a wonderful actually chemistry that really works well actually academically, right? As a teacher for the past 50 years, I'm telling you, co-education is always actually good productive actually academic work. It's good. If you make a very rigid actually kind of a distinction between the two, it is not actually healthy. That's a different. But when you allow these people to come together, there has to be a very sensible line actually of difference between good behavior and bad behavior. That you people actually should behave. Not only you should also, in fact, should not be too lenient as far as actually these gestures are concerned. Nextly, leering at somebody, simply looking at a person so badly, I'll tell you where he's lascivious, they call it actually in English, where your look itself actually what? It is as if you're devouring that particular person. Right? And displaying sexually visual material such as pin-ups, cartoons, graffiti, computer. So in your laptop or in your computer system or in your mobile, big pin-ups actually of a naked woman or a semi-naked woman. And if someone actually wants to use your system, you readily give her so that actually they can see it. Right? This is also a kind of actually sexual, harassment. And telling woman employee about the way she dresses. This is the last thing you should do it. Many a times actually women like it. You look really good today. You have a wonderful dress. If you say, they take it actually as a comment, a compliment, and they might like it also. But there could be some hidden agenda behind that. I inquired one case in one of the universities. Let me not name. Okay, it's my university. Years ago, nearly 70 cases I inquired. There actually one day a superintendent actually was there. There were many actually women. One day a woman actually came. He said, "You look wonderful today." He said. She thought it was a compliment. She liked it. Right? Next day when she came, "You look really beautiful in this saree. You're something great." She suspected. Third day, he added some more adjectives to it. Right? She really suspected. Then she knew that actually what are his intentions. And the fourth day shouted at her and saying that mind your bloody business, don't actually try to act into it. That man was terribly offended. And after 10 or 15 days, actually, she went for a leave because she had to go to that person actually for leave. She outrightly rejected and blasted left hand. You think actually I'll grant leave to you? Impossible, get lost. And another, after some time, once again, she went actually for leave, maybe after 10 or 15 days, same thing happened. And third time, she walked into our committee there. She said, this man actually is not granting me leave because of this reasons. When we called these people actually for inquiry, that man actually became terribly angry. Sir, what do you mean by that? I am a married man with children. You think actually look at this dirty woman? No, 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 no. That is one more actually what offense that you are committing. Calling a woman a dirty woman, that to a colleague, is another actually kind of a sexual harassment. And he was very, very adamant, nothing doing, I have not done anything. Then he was not ready to accept it. And the meeting was getting concluded. He was going out. I just called him, come here, fellow. Look, I'm a lawman, I'll tell you. It can be proved. It's not that difficult, I think, that you are not done at all, because there are various other women, and you must have behaved like this actually with other women also. If two or three of them actually come and tell this person is of that nature, there's the end of the story. You will be suspended. You might not actually even get back to your other thing, and there will also be a police case against you. So within that, the university you can manage. Once it actually gets out of the university, goes to the police, nobody can control it. Police, you are not a VIP actually before the police. They'll treat you the way actually they treat an ordinary thug, right? Be careful. Then he slowly realized. He asked me, so what shall you do? Go and talk to her. Under section 10, there is a compromise formula. Do it. He went, begged her, crawled before her, and actually somehow actually made her accept uh, that there can be a compromise, and sought excuse and all that. After 15 days, they came and filed a compromise petition. We asked, and you know what the woman said? The poor chap, sir, let him go, sir. No problem. I forget. Forgiven. She said. So that is how it got. Otherwise, that person actually would have been serious trouble. What was actually the committee made? He simply said, "You look wonderful. Look how dangerous it is." It might be a compliment, no problem. If the other actually person takes it as a compliment, no problem. If you go further actually with this kind of comment, with actually a hidden agenda in your mind, you are certainly going to get into. And calling her at late night and dinner for such request. If you really say, therefore, be careful. If you really want to invite somebody for a cup of a coffee, etc., etc., see that actually she has crossed 18 years of age. Because once she has crossed 18 years of age, she can give consent, join you for a cup of coffee. She has not crossed 18 years of age, I'll tell you, she cannot give consent. She has to take consent from the parents or the guardians. But I want to go for a cup of coffee. My classmate is inviting me. The father says yes, she can go because minors cannot give consent. I hope actually everyone is a major here. Is there anyone still actually below 18? You're below 18. Huh? Be careful. Huh? Be careful. You can't actually give consent to anything. You can't give consent to anything, I'll tell you, because you're still a minor. Others actually give consent. Therefore, that is one thing. Then you might ask me, sir, then should we not actually invite for them a cup of coffee without actually Aadhaar card or registration certificate or something like that? No, 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 no. Only when you offend her and she feels that actually she has been offended, question actually comes into it. And I'll tell you, when two people, a male and a female, I'll tell you, they come together, talk to each other. If there is a consent, it is none of our business. If there is no consent, I'll tell you, it is everybody's business. And it is the business of the police also to, in fact, interfere. That's it. And making sweeping statements. All women are wonderful. All women are dirty. And the girls actually of JC are useless. Something like that. Sweeping statements. Very, very bad, I'll tell you. And that is also a kind of actually sexual harassment. And any other kind of an act, I'll tell you, conduct where it has got that actually sexual overtures, that is actually more than sufficient. Look, I'll give you some data, you'll be shocked. And 64% actually increase in sexual harassment in the last actually few years. 64% means large number of people, in fact, actually every day they are actually trying to, in fact, harass the girl. 67% employees in various actually the places where they work, they say ICC, that is the Internal Complaints Committee, which is supposed to look into this kind of actually problems, is not at all working. Is not at all working. I'll tell you, I'm at least in half a dozen actually institutes. I'm a member, still a member. I'll tell you, and very very few of them actually come forward to give a complaint. Though there is actually plenty of sexual harassment. A third of actually domestic workers actually means one third of the domestic workers actually work in various actually places. They face sexual harassment. They can't simply come and give a complaint because of the simple reason that they might lose their job and they may not be able to in fact actually sustain without actually any kind of it. So this is the most helpless actually situation. So the 29% of laborers, 23% of domestic workers, 16% of small scale manufacturing workers are vulnerable to sexual actually misconduct and harassment because they are the most helpless actually people because if they resist they might lose their job. Look, this is actually the situation. Look here, the garment workers, if you travel to Bangalore from Mysore, near Ramnagara, and after that, actually, plenty of girls, actually, have women get into the train so that actually they can get out actually just before Bangalore to go to these actually garment workers. They're all daily wages, I'll tell you. If a woman actually doesn't fall in line with the employer, the next day they need not go to the job. They will not be allowed to. So, look at the 14% women garment workers are forced to be involved in actually sexual act or there will be some kind of a rape against it. And 75% of the said there was no complaint mechanism at all where they go actually for the garment actually factory to work. If there is a sexual harassment either by the employer or by any other person, there is no one actually to hear their grievances. They have to go to the police station only. It is not possible. Well, 60% actually they said they did not believe in actually getting any kind of a justice. Even if you go and actually give a complaint, they are not actually sure of getting any kind of a justice because the justice will be always actually in favor of the powerful and the mighty. And look, one more very, very pathetic situation. About 10% of Indian girls between 10 and 14 face sexual violence in families. This is the most pathetic situation. Before that, I leave you. See, we do not have an exact actually data. The government of India says actually about 50 to 70 lakhs actually sex workers are active in India. They say that's grossly, in fact, actually incorrect actual number. And the NGOs who have actually done a survey, they say not less than 4 crore actually sex workers are active in this country. 4 crore sex workers for a population actually of 140 crore. This is not a big number compared to other countries, I'll tell you. This may not be the exact number also, and there could be much more than this. And out of that 4 crore, nearly 40% of them are 18 and below. 18 and below. You don't actually believe if I say that the girls actually are 4 years, 5 years, 6 years old actually are working in a brothel in Mumbai, Calcutta, and Bombay. You don't believe it. Right? You might ask me, sir, 5-year-old girl, what does she do actually in a brothel? Because there is a demand. There are clients for her. Look, this is the most pathetic situation, I'll tell you. You must have actually read actually the kind of rape that took place actually in Calcutta recently. A doctor, when actually medical examination was conducted on her body, 128 ml actually semen was found. 128 ml. Look at the kind of actually the violence that was actually committed against her, and the whole state machinery tried to hush it up the whole way. It was brought to the notice of the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court actually is dealing with that. There is a hope. The whole entire government, including the chief minister, actually they want to hush up. Look at actually this girl. This girl actually begged for her life. I'll tell you, don't kill me, do anything. But those idiots actually were not prepared. Not only, in fact, ravished her, but also killed her. Look, this is the pathetic actual situation. I'll tell you, much before that, in 2012, there was actually one case. I know in 2012, you're all in schools. Almost actually 12 years ago, must be in schools. One of the worst possible actually rapes took place actually in India. That is actually called, in Delhi, it was actually December 16th, and where that woman actually was repeatedly raped by actually six people, where there was a minor who was actually less than 18. He was just actually 17 and a half years old. She was so brutally, in fact, actually raped, and after that she was actually tortured, beaten, thrashed, and at the end of the day, I'll tell you, these buses will have actually one wheel spanner to remove the tires. You must be knowing, a long L-shaped actually jack handle, they call it, a long solid iron one that was inserted in her private organ and rolled and removed. The 60 to 70% actually of her internal organs was so severely damaged. When she was thrown out of the bus, many of the internal organs actually were dangling outside. The question, this is studied actually in a police academy as a case study, because where I go and actually discuss this one. The question is, rape actually is an offense, no doubt. I'll tell you, in India, about actually 35,000 rapes actually take place every year. That is not something so surprising. But a human behavior actually of this nature, where a human being behaves actually worse than the most cruelest animal on the face of the planet against another helpless woman, is something, I'll tell you, we'll have to go beyond the line and find out actually what exactly this idiot has got in his mind, right? And they were actually given death sentence. That's a different story altogether. So these things actually should know it. Why a human being actually behaves that, we do not know. Yet to find out, right? And 91% of sexual violence cases are not reported. 99.1%. See, 99% of the women actually who face sexual harassment, they don't report it at all, because actually there are various actually kind of problems. One is, if she's a student, she might actually get affected actually in her scoring of the marks actually in the examinations. If it is she is an employee, she might actually endangered with some kind of disciplinary action and all these kind of things. 99% means hardly, very minutest actually part of the sexually harassed women come forward to give actually a complaint. That's one thing. Look, these are some of the leading cases which I do not want to explain. I would like to tell you later on what is sexual harassment, how actually should be very careful. Rupen Bajaj case, she was, I'll tell you, the senior most actually IAS officer of Haryana cadre. She was the senior most IAS officer. And the man who harassed her actually was the police chief of Punjab, right? So the police chief of the Punjab, KPS Gill, he tried to misbehave with, right? Because in an evening party, I'll tell you, he gulped a couple of drinks. After drink, the Sardaji was very enthusiastic, and this was his actually bad behavior. The moment he was drunk, he started actually patting on her back. She objected to it because she is a senior officer. Her husband also was an officer. He was there. And when she objected, still he repeated. She went to file a case. She went to police station to file a case against whom? The chief of police of that particular state. Which police officer will register it? She had to struggle for 16 long years to file a case, fight actually in every state, trial court, high court, Supreme Court. And Supreme Court, after 16 years, and it gave a judgment saying that actually he is found guilty, 1 year imprisonment and 3 lakh rupees fine. And that 1 year imprisonment actually was quashed because he was a very, very great and very efficient actually police officer. This was the man who had brought down actually to zero level the underworld actually business of Mumbai. And this was the man who was actually responsible for bringing normalcy in Punjab, when Punjab actually was in the clutches actually of terrorism, right? So this is what exactly happened. And Vishaka versus state of Rajasthan, I told you, because of which the Supreme Court actually gave this decision. And Pachauri must be knowing it, most of you, he is a Nobel laureate. This idiot actually misbehaved with one of the colleagues. She filed a case and the court actually held him guilty. So don't think that actually Nobel laureates are very decent people. Not necessary. Any person actually could be decent and any person could be indecent. And next is KPS Gill, the man actually who patted on Rupen Bajaj. And Panish Murthy, you must be knowing, he is one of the senior actually executives actually in Infosys. He was in actually Europe. He tried to misbehave actually with one of the girls actually in the organization in Europe, and she filed actually $3.5 million actually suit where Infosys had to pay. This man actually tried to act smart, and Infosys had to pay, and he was kicked out. A fellow, you are too costly a man, please get out. Yes. And he went and actually joined some other institution. There also did the same bloody nonsense. And he was thrown out. Where is you? Find out. And David Davidar is another journalist. Same thing happened. Why I want to say is Ashok Kumar Ganguly was a Supreme Court judge. Imagine it. The Supreme Court judge, you know what he did? Usually our students actually, they are in fourth year or final year, they go actually for internship to the Supreme Court and the High Court. They'll be under the Supreme Court judge. They sit, hear the case, do research actually for the judge, and also help actually writing the judgment. Right? Say, girl, I'll tell you, maybe of her his granddaughter's age, this man tried to misbehave. Right? And you know that girl is a very smart girl. She was a lawyer, na? Right? She waited till her degree completed. The moment she degree completed, she enrolled as an advocate. The first case was this case. This man actually at that time was retired and he was actually Human Rights Commission, and it became a big news. He had to resign and all that nonsense. And one more case actually came, Justice Swatandra Kumar. That idiot also did the same thing, but he brought a stay. The stay is still continuing even after 10 years. I'll tell you how long we do not. Right? And Tarun Tejpal and SPS Rathore is one case. I'll tell you. He was the police chief actually of Haryana, and he used to go to a club there actually in Haryana, where actually a very young girl of high school, no, she used to come actually there for playing tennis and swimming pool. This dirty man's dirty eyes actually fell on this very young high school girl. He started harassing her. And one day, where she could not actually tolerate this harassment, she committed suicide. And a case was filed, and the case actually at the end of the day, he was punished. That's a different. Right now, I'll tell you what exactly this act says, where you should actually try to know the sexual harassment is. So, in this act, what does it say is you cannot actually for every sexual harassment go to a police station and do every nonsense. It's very difficult. How many are you? How many of you are dare enough to go to a police station file alerts? You do not even want to go to a police station, and many people think that actually do not want to even see a policeman's face in the morning, so that actually my day can be good. So if that is the case, how can you go to a police station and file a case? Therefore, what we have done is we have created actually a redressal mechanism in all the places where more than 10 people are working. Where the working actually people, the number is more than 10, you will have to have actually one small actually mechanism there called internal complaints committee. It has been actually invested actually with some power to conduct inquiry, hand over actually judgment or report to the police. You do not have to go anywhere, right? Less than 10 means the government itself actually at the block level, at taluk level, at district level, they constitute a committee. You can actually work in there, or you can also go to the police station. So we have a redressal mechanism. First, the redressal is prevent this sexual harassment, punish that particular person, and also warn the employers to see that no sexual harassment actually should ever take place in your places. Provide such actually facilities in your place of work where they should not. I went to one of the institutions actually where some 250 were working. Then I came to know that actually there was only one washroom for both men and women. This is something I'll tell you, a terrific kind of a thing. I'll tell you. When men are in washroom, I'll tell you they are in heaven. They can actually talk all that nonsense, do any nonsense. If a woman wants to go there, can she ever actually go? Right? So, and I told them, look, this is the clear case of sexual harassment. You will have to provide actually one more washroom for actually the girls. And after some time, when I actually washed, they had actually created separate actually washroom for girls. And safeguard against, and at the same time, there's possibility of actually false cases also. See, the Supreme Court itself actually said 70% of the dowry harassment cases are false. I'm not saying Supreme Court said, because there are plenty of actually. Don't ever think that actually all men are villains and women actually are heroines. There could be plenty of actually women also who can deliberately give, because I inquired actually some 70 to 80 cases out of that. Two cases actually were false cases. A woman actually deliberately hoisted false charges against actually one of the senior officers. It is indeed actually possible. What you should do, say for example, you are a very intelligent person, you score really well. Someone in your class who is a girl who is not very jealous of you. So she wants to teach a lesson. She files a case. So this man actually always stares at me, does that, does this, etc., etc. Then when a woman actually comes to the complaint as a complainant, then it has to be looked into very seriously, right? So that's it. And there is a quid pro actually kind of harassment means you actually cooperate with me, I will try to help you. Whenever you come, I'll grant you leave. Wherever you want, you can go. Don't come actually in time. Come anytime. Only thing is you'll have to cooperate with me. This is actually what is called quid pro quo. And you support me, I'll support you. This is also sexual harassment. Agreed woman actually might think agreed woman means the woman need not be always actually one who's working there, right? Anyone, say for example, take this your university campus. Here, you're all students, you're not workers, but it's clearly applicable to you also. There are women who are actually working, men who are working. Besides this, there are other people also walk into this particular actually campus for various purposes. Say a woman actually by mistake gets into this particular actually campus and she was harassed. Can she still actually file a case? Because this is the law which is meant actually for the working woman actually working in that place actually to protect them. So the definition is so broad, I'll tell you, so broad and inclusive. Any woman, I'll tell you, whether actually she goes there as an employee or as a stranger or by mistake actually gets into it, if she is harassed, she comes actually within the purview of agreed woman. And workplace means literally everything actually is a workplace, right? And there is this protection. This act actually provides protection for that. Secondly, prevention. There are plenty of actually preventive measures and result, that is punishment. Everything actually is given to all this, right? And moving further, I'll tell you, there is a committee. I told you, 10 or more. There is actually one committee called Internal Complaints Committee. Less than 10, local inquiry committee, they call it LIC. So within actually 3 months, you must actually give a notice. So, for example, a sexual harassment takes place actually when you are in first year, and somehow you are not actually courageous enough to give a complaint. When you come to fourth year, after 4 years, you want to file a complaint because you felt actually enraged at that time, but you did not have the courage to. Can you still do so? So we have an act actually in law called a limitation act. Any grievance you want to take it before the appropriate authority, you'll have to take it actually within a particular period of time, right? There is a time limit, right? But for these sexual offenses, I'll tell you, there is no time limit at all, right? So there's one film star called Jitendra. I don't know, you may not be knowing it. When I was a student, he was a raging star, right? He is too old, 80, 85 years old, too old. Just actually a couple of years ago, a girl actually, a woman, not a girl, she was a girl at that time, files a case against him that in 1972 he sexually harassed me in Dehradun when we were actually in a shoot. In 2015, she gives a complaint. What the police should do? Almost actually 43 years. After 43 years, the complaint actually. So our new law says, I'll tell you, at any point of time, actually sexual harassment takes place, whatever may be the time lapse, you are supposed to register a case. If you don't register a case, the policeman will be punished with 6 months. They registered and went to Jitendra. That man actually is too old, cannot remember anything. What? Jitendra, where am I? Was I a film star? And they went and actually saw the place. That hotel actually was converted into a complex. And what said, but the act says he must be registered. The register, inquire. If there is stuff, find actually a report. No stuff, B report. Nothing actually is found, C report. That you have to do it, right? So there are, you can't actually for silly reasons. Someone actually came to Dasara last year, and while going home, he lost his purse. He was in a hurry. He catches the purse and goes home. And next year, for Dasara, he comes. Then he remembers, oh, last time I had lost my purse. Purse. She goes to the police station. ಸರ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪರ್ಸ್ ಹಾಳಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಪರ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು? 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇತ್ತು ಸರ್. ಕೆನ್ನೆ ಏಟ್ ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ರೇಪ್ ಕೇಸಸ್, ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ ನನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆ. ನೀನು 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿನ ಕೇಸಿಗೆ 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನೀನು ಅಂತ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿಟಿ. So for some of the offenses, especially sexual related offenses, I'll tell you, there is no time limit at all. ಬೇಜಾರಾದಾಗ ಬಂದು you can give a complaint. But you will have to have what? Evidence. You can't simply come and actually have fun at the cost of somebody. You have, and the committee actually has, you must be very careful. The committee has solid power. You know what is the power? Power of a civil judge. The committee can summon anybody. Hey, appear before the committee and the Burbeck. If it doesn't come, an arrest warrant, you can ask the policeman to arrest the idiot and bring him. That's the power of the committee, right? So this committee, in fact, actually takes care of all these things. And if say process of it is a confidential report. When the case is actually being discussed, and that should not be reported to any other person, and it should not be revealed, right? If the members of the committee reveal it, there is a fine for them also. And the employees actually must show there is a responsibility on the employees, that they must actually see that there are no scopes actually for what sexual harassment. They must actually take all necessary actions. Secondly, if they don't actually take any precautionary measures, up to 50,000 rupees, you can actually fine. The government actually can fine, impose fine on the institutions where they do not actually take precautionary measures. And not only that, I'll tell you, the government actually can come any point of time and inspect and see that actually everything is done. So I would like to just actually go and tell you exactly, because now you know the consequences of sexual harassment. Sir, how can I say my behavior, my conduct actually is a sexual harassment or not? Right? I'll give you some example. Listen to me very carefully and try to understand. Look, it's a broad range of unwelcome sexually determined behavior. A broad range actually of unwelcome actual behavior. It is sexually intended. That's very important. Like, they include physical contact without any kind of a reason. If you touch somebody, not accidentally, touch anybody, then it could be. It could be. And any advances towards that other person, demand a request for sexual favors. Either you demand or make a request for sexual favors. That is, and sexually colored remarks, right? A remark, I'll tell you, which is sexually colored, that anybody can actually make out. And showing pornography or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. This non-verbal actually conduct, we can't make a list of it, right? Any kind of a physical actual gesture could mean what? Sexually oriented conduct. And it may range from gender-based taunting. Gender-based taunting means looking at them actually down in contempt and making fun of them actually for a drop of a heart, something like that. And the sexual gestures, offensive remarks, vulgar stares. Vulgar stares. You look at actually woman in such a way where the woman can easily find out this idiot actually has something actually in his mind, right? That is called actually vulgar stares. Embarrassing jokes. They, amongst men themselves, I'll tell, let them actually crack any kind of a nonsensical joke. If at all, if they ever find that there is a woman actually in that group, you should be extremely careful. You should be extremely careful what you utter, what kind of a jokes actually you have. And any sexual act that undermines woman's sense of personal dignity. See your personality or physical actual structure actually is the nature's actually gift. We can't simply make fun of it. You're too dwarf, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too lean, you're dark. And all that nonsense, I'll tell you, it is nature's actual gift. You'll have to accept it as it is, right? If you ever actually try to make a comment on that, whereby actually taunt her, this is indeed actually sexual harassment. Look here, physical sexual harassment include pinching, grabbing, hugging, patting, leering, brushing against, and touching. So a few years ago, actually, I had lot many, in fact, African students. Two girls actually came to my chamber, sir. When we were talking actually inside the class, this man actually brushed aside and came here, sir. This is something really bad. I called that particular person, the African boy. What is this? Sir, they are standing in front of me where there is absolutely no way to go, sir. How should I waited actually for a few minutes? They were never actually in a way to, in fact, give me any way. I just pushed them aside and went. I asked, were you standing on the way? Yes. This is what exactly happens. How to sort it out, right? When they are not actually, the girls are not giving the way, this man simply pushed aside and just walked in, right? So these are the things I'll tell you, you'll have to tackle it very, very carefully, right? You can't actually take everything very seriously. And beginning with look, psychological harassment, relentless proposal. Oh, you're so beautiful. I like so beautiful. Once you say it's a compliment. Repeatedly, in fact, for months together, years together, if you say, I'll tell you that is nothing but what? A kind of sexual harassment. If the other girl accepts, no problem. If she doesn't accept even after 1 month of relentless proposal ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ತೆಪ್ಪಿಗೆ ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು. That is all. I'll tell you. There is no further actually what attempt you should actually make. This is a simple hint. I'll tell you. Don't ever say I did not understand this. Sir. Then you are unfit to be in a engineering school. ಅದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ why should you be here? Right? You should actually understand. And the act prohibits sexual harassment, which may include promise of preferential treatment. If you cooperate with me, I'll grant you leave anytime actually you want at any for any length of time. Or you can come to office whenever you feel like it. One incident I must repeat, I'll tell you, she was an assistant commissioner. In Karnataka, assistant commissioner is a very senior actually officer. In Karnataka cadre, she is the topmost actually officer. This girl actually was attending one of my actually programs in administrative training institute. After the class, I think I was talking to them about actually women's right. And after the class, she came and actually she was in tears literally. She said, actually, I am being harassed sexually. I said, who? My senior. And it could be an IS officer. And I was literally shocked. Come on, tell me, madam, you are the senior most officer of state cadre. You say you are being harassed. And what about actually attendance peons in your bloody institute, I'll tell you, in your department? Where can they go? The senior most officer feels actually so helpless. And what does he do? I asked. He says actually deliberately calls me to his office actually to bring some files and deliberately tries to come close to me. And during, say, for example, 5:30, when we're about to go, he asked me to bring a file, and actually, for a very lengthy discussion, makes me sit there. And sometimes at 11 o'clock, 11:30, he makes me a phone call and says, what happened to that file, etc., etc. And sometimes at 12 o'clock, he calls me and says, tomorrow afternoon, we are going for lunch. And he was so scared, if at all, if my husband ever comes to know about it, sir, he will certainly suicide me, and that's the end of my marriage. This is the pathetic situation of even women actually who are in such powerful positions. What about very ordinary, actually helpless girls and boys? Right? That is actually the situation. Prefer hostile work environment, humiliating conduct, etc., etc. All these things. And look, this is the definition that is actually given, and these are the offenses, right? We have nearly created. One is voyeurism, where whoever watches captures the image of a woman in private act, right? Private act means where she doesn't expect anyone to see her, right? In that particular situation, someone actually captures or sees, that is an offense, right? Punishable actually is 7 years in prison. The peeping toms you must have heard. They go and actually peep into the washrooms and bedrooms, etc., etc. Where woman actually feels absolutely in privacy, right? There, you're no one actually supposed to in fact peep into it. And stalking is simply following somebody, either online or physical, right? And a relentless proposal, in spite of the fact that the girl actually is not accepting it. When she refuses, it can be done. I would like to just actually give you some kind of behavior which might constitute what sexual harassment. Look, these are the acts which are clear cases actually of what sexual harassment. Making such sexually suggestive remarks or innuendos. Innuendos means you don't directly say so, but indirectly you want to say something. So sexually suggestive remarks is the sexual harassment. Nextly, repeated offensive remarks such as teasing related to person's body and appearance. Her body and appearance repeatedly, he says, it's a sexual harassment. Offensive comments and jokes. Jokes when you are on your own with your own actually close group, do anything you nonsense. But when actually the other, I mean, girls actually, women are there, should be absolutely mindful of your language. And inappropriate questions like, person's sex life. Try to ask few questions about actually person's sex life. It is none of your business to ask that. And displaying sexist or other offensive pictures, right? And intimidation, threats, blackmail, etc. If you don't give me this kind of sexual favor, and you will be met with some kind of a problem, something like that. And unwelcome social invitations with sexual overtones commonly understood as flirting. I don't have to say what is flirting. You all know about it, right? And unwelcome sexual advances may not be accompanied by promise of threats, etc., etc. Not only that, physical contact such as touching and pinching, caressing, kissing, fondling someone against her will. Against her will only. If she agrees, there's no problem. Invasion of personal space, getting too close. So you must always actually mention, in West, usually what happens, an young man is introduced to an young girl, he will shake hands, hug her, give a kiss, and say, so nice meeting. The same thing is done in India. Next, within 1 hour, that man will be in police station, actually facing charges. Right? You be absolutely careful. When you go to Europe, behave like European. When you are in India, that is when India, we have a wonderful way of actually greeting other people. Namaste. Finished. You take few steps back in Savasa Sako. Wonderful way of actually greeting. You just actually say namaste. That's it. Available today. All that actually I'll tell you. If the other actually person is of that nature, okay, it's fine. So therefore, you see some of the people I'll tell you never actually offer their hand actually for shaking to a woman. If the woman herself actually comes forward with that, okay, no problem. Why you unnecessarily go and actually ask? I went to one of actually the institute hospital where a nurse actually came and actually told me, sir, our security officer, no, sir, that fellow every morning he says, good morning, sister, he says, and actually shakes my hands and holds me so tight and never leaves. I asked that person, what is this, sir? Is there a time limit actually for shaking hands? Say, I'm a military man, I firm actually handshake is a handshake to me, sir. ಎಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ಏನಾರು ಇದೆಯಾ 2 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು 3 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ನಾನು 5 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶೇಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಂಥ ಬಂಡ್ರಿಗೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಲಾ put them actually under actually some kind of punishment and teach them shaking hand is only needed when the other girl actually offers her hand. ನೀವು ಹೋಗಿ ಕೈ ಕಿತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶೇಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು and persistently asking someone out ಬನ್ನಿ ಕಾಫಿ ಕುಡಿಯೋಣ ಬನ್ನಿ ಕಾಫಿ ಕುಡಿಯೋಣ she is not interested. She doesn't want to drink coffee. Why you want to offer? Right, not necessary. Abuse authority of authority power threaten person's job. ಜಾಬ್‌ನೇ ನೀವು ಕಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಫಾಲ್ಸ್‌ಲಿ ಅಕ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ those are sexual favors. And rumor mongering about actually when she doesn't cooperate and rumor mongering about actually passing on actually rumors about that particular. And this is not exactly like sexual harassment, but it requires actually a kind of an inquiry, right? On the face of it, these things are not sexual harassment, but it requires actually some kind of an inquiry. What is that? Criticizing, insulting, blaming, reprimanding, or condemning an employee in public. In front of others, when you blame, condemn, criticize, it may not be on the face of it, I'll tell you, sexual harassment, but there could be an innuendo, right? She may be having actually some kind of an agenda behind that. So when she gives a, because plenty of the cases actually which come before our committee, they are administrative actually kind of harassments, not sexual harassment. But the girl, finding no other avenue, she walks into this particular actually committee to file a case, right? That I am being sexually harassed because I happen to be a woman, something like that. Secondly, exclusion from group activities, assigning without any valid reason. So where a woman actually is excluded actually from group, she is made absolutely lonely. Right? That is the biggest actual harassment you will be knowing it. And statements damaging a person's reputation or career. Simply, in fact, actually spreading some kind of an information about a woman's actual character where her reputation actually is damaged. Removing the areas of responsibility unjustifiably. When she has been actually assigned with some responsibility without any reason, remove the whole responsibility. She is doing the job without any kind of a responsibility. It is an harassment. It is an harassment and inappropriately giving too little or too much of work. Either give too little work or don't give work at all. That is also a kind of harassment. You must inquire into it, why he is doing so. And constantly overruling authority. Whatever actually the proposal comes from a particular woman, we reject it. Whether even actually it is a meritorious kind of a proposal, reject it. So this is also a kind of harassment and unjustifiably monitoring everything she does. Anything she does calls for actually some kind of an explanation. These are prima facie not sexual harassment. On the face of it, they are not sexual harassment. But when she makes a complaint, you will have to, in fact, make a discreet inquiry to find out whether this man actually has got any kind of a sexual intention or not. Like blaming individual constantly, repeatedly singling out, and insult and humiliation, systematically interfering in her normal work, and humiliating a person in front of the colleagues, and arbitrarily taking disciplinary action, or controlling the person by withholding any resources, not providing any facilities at all. Right? That is one thing. These five things actually absolutely are not sexual harassment. They are not sexual harassment at all. But many people, without knowing it, I'll tell you, they think that this is also sexual harassment. Actually, warrants a kind of an inquiry. What is it? Following up actually on work absence. What is that? Actually, a person is supposed to do a duty. She is not doing it as a senior officer. I repeat, told her to in fact do the job or finish the work assignment. She should not actually feel that actually she has been sexually harassed. This is what exactly happened in here when an inquiry was conducted where I did it, where the woman actually was not doing any job at all and she was not actually carrying out her responsibility efficiently. The senior officer, very, very senior, I mean, sincere officer, he repeatedly was telling her, I'll tell you, this job is pending, please do it, do it. She felt terribly, in fact, offended because this man was almost every day saying so. and she files a case actually before the committee. She's harassing. Then we have to look into the case because when a woman comes with a complaint, we can't actually reject it. And we started inquiring it. Then we came to know that actually there was nothing wrong. One very vital, very important actually witness came forward to depose against her. Who was that? Her own husband. He came. ಈ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಹಣೆ ಬರ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ. What else you want? Right? And I while writing at the judgment, I said it is a false case, but I never recommended actually for any kind of punishment because for false case there has to be punishment. I only simply wrote saying that she should be warned. You know why? Why actually? Because not many women come forward when they are really sexually harassed. Not many come forward. And unfortunately, this actually woman has come forward actually with a false case. If you ever actually impose a kind of a penalty or punishment, you will be sending a very strong signal to all other actually innocent women. If you go there, we could also be punished if we could not actually prove. That is why this act actually clearly says when a woman files a case of sexual harassment and she is not in a position to in fact actually prove it with all evidences and she loses the case, should never consider it as a false case. Sexual harassment actually takes place in privacy. Can you ever actually get a witness for it? Call few witnesses, come and see, I am actually harassing her tomorrow. If there is a problem, we can actually be witness. This happens actually in absolute privacy. And one man actually says, I have not done it. The woman says she has done it. Whom to believe? That is why in law, we have made under Indian Evidence Act where if a woman comes before the court or goes to the police station, files a case that this person actually has sexually harassed, the police must actually believe that she has been sexually harassed. The responsibility of proving that I have not harassed lies on whom? First, the man. So therefore, the woman actually has this edge where she can walk in and say, this is what has happened. The responsibility of proving actually will be on the accused. So this is one advantage that is given, but this is also grossly misused. That you must actually understand. Right? And requiring performance to job standards. Your job has a standard. Up to that you must actually live up. Up to that actually you have to come. If you don't come, it's the responsibility of the senior actually person to inquire into it. Look, you'll have to improve your skill, efficiency, etc. etc. Is it harassment? It cannot be. You are paid actually good salary of that particular job, but you are not doing it. Right? That's it. And work-related stress. Tell me who is not actually stressed out these days. Even kindergarten children who are going to school actually are stressed. You think actually SJC, first year students are not stressed? They are indeed everyone. Look at actually ask your teacher. They are also equally stressed. Everyone is stressed. I don't know why everyone is so stressed. At the end of the day, we are not actually going to get anything out of it. But still, I'll tell you, the rat race is so strong here. I'll tell you, you will have to get stressed. Otherwise, you are not a human being at all. Right? That's it. And work-related stress, meeting deadlines. Tomorrow, you wait after 4 years. You are in first year now, and exactly after 4 years, actually, you get employed. And you leave the college straight away. Go to in fact job place, then you will understand. I'll tell you, all these days you are wonderful actually liberty. The moment you get into the job, I'll tell you, all responsibility on your shoulders. They give you deadlines. Next 15 days, this project is to be finalized. Right? They provide all facilities, a swimming pool, actually multi cuisine restaurant, and all that nonsense. Where is the time to eat and swim? There is no time to work. Right? You can swim 24 hours anywhere. You can work. Even while swimming, also you can work. Can you ever do it? Facilities are given, but there is no time. This is how actually life we have accepted. People actually pay lakhs of rupees actually get into this course so that tomorrow they can actually go become a slave actually in a particular company. That is your choice. You actually chosen, right? You do it. And normal exercise of management rights. So I'll tell you, think actually you cannot say, so every day morning at 9:30 you should be in a class. So this is a harassment, sir. You can't say, I'll tell you, 9:30 is the 9:30. I'll tell you, in our college, before actually 9:30, before the teacher enters, the students actually should be in the class. Right? If they know, then no problem. You don't trouble them. Come to next class. Just we maintain. Right? That kind of a discipline. And there is a mobile actually rules. You are not supposed to use actually mobile inside the class, on the corridor, or inside the library. In any other place you can use. Right? But most of them actually use in these places only. If you seize the mobile means harassment, sir. We are harassing the mobile or the person we do not know, but they say it's harassing. These are all, I'll tell you, simply managerial jobs we are doing it. Right? You must also develop some kind of a responsibility. And constructive feedback. Fellow, your handwriting is not good. If I say, ಏನು ಸರ್ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕೆಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ತೋರಿಸಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಓದಿಸ್ಬಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, your handwriting is not good. It's a constructive actually feedback. You must actually take it in the right spirit. They are not actually sexual harassment. You must actually understand. Okay. So employer also has the responsibility, right? Like, provide safe working environment. I'm sure I'll tell you, you are lucky to be in this particular wonderful actually place where it's quite spacious and all facilities actually are provided here. Display penal consequences. ಇರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ. Have you seen actually the disciplinary, I mean, penal consequences of sexual harassment? Fine ಏನು ಎಲ್ಲಿ? And if at all, if you ever come across, I'll tell you, there may be a drop box, where you can drop your complaint, or there are phone numbers. I think even my phone number also could be there. You can call up anybody and lodge a complaint saying that this person of this class is doing this. You just leave it. The rest actually will be taken care of. Only thing is, you'll have to cooperate with the committee and organize workshop. Look, this you must appreciate actually the management and Madam Hema, Madam. This is second day, na? Third, very third day itself will do early morning actually this program. Sexual harassment early in the morning. Actually, I'm talking about, right? So that you will be fresh in your mind and understand everything. Right? This is required. I tell you. You must be awareness is to be created and organize workshop and assist actually in securing attendance. The person actually who tries to avoid actually appearance before the committee. So you can even take the help of the outsiders and the public servant like police to secure their attendance before and provide assistance to women. The question is, women actually should be provided some kind of an assistance because there can be wreaking vengeance against the woman and actually try to isolate her and all that. Right? And treat sexual harassment as a misconduct under service rules. Right? If the person actually is an employee, if he conducts any sexual harassment, it is an extreme one. IPC provisions will apply. It is not so. Then your service rules actually will apply. Major penalty or minor penalty will be given to them and monitor timely. So the university is supposed to submit every once in 6 months a report and every year a report as to the incidents of sexual harassment and consequential actually follow-up action and everything that should be placed and the entire actually the cases of the country will be placed before the parliament once in a year because the government has taken it very very seriously, right? And let me just actually conclude by saying the committee how it actually works, what you can actually do it. See, please see that first. See the whole purpose actually of your induction program actually is one very important actually objective is to modify your behavior. You have to modify your conduct. I tell you, you are just actually come from schools. PUC ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೊಂಥರ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಜೈಲ್ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. You will be made to work. You're all actually from PCMB, na? Right? Minimum actually 15 to 18 hours actually you must have worked in the last actually couple of years, isn't it? The moment you entered SSLC till you passed out PUC, I'll tell you, you are almost actually in a central prison, like, all the time actually sitting below. You still actually have that kind of a thing. You are in a professional college, I'll tell you have to modify your behavior. Your behavior actually should be that of a professional college student. You can't actually should not behave like a college or school student. That modification and JSS has a culture. SJC or your JSS Science and Technology University has a culture. You must adopt actually that culture as soon as possible. You must actually become part of this culture. You don't have to wait for next actually 4 years to become a part of it. Immediately, as soon as you become, as early as you become actually part of this culture, it is better for you. It is better for you. So therefore, see, all of you, in fact, actually, there has to be a very harmonious and cordial relation between both the sexes. Nothing wrong in talking to them, taking out actually for a cup of coffee, etc., etc. For your relationship should have actually that a line of actually decent behavior. You have to draw, and you should not actually encroach upon that or cross the line of decency. Behave perfectly. Your life is going to be wonderful for next 4 years, right? And I hope actually you all look very promising, and I don't find any that kind of actually attitude in your presence. But usually, the students actually who come from actually good schools and good actually family background usually don't indulge in all those things. But what to do? The friendship actually the companion they keep sometimes actually drive them to do all these things. So I would like to just actually tell that. So this is only to create an awareness, not to create fear in your mind. ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಜೈಲಿಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ಫೈನ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ನೋ ನೋ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಟು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಅನ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ only thing is if you can actually modify your behavior restrain yourself your stay is going to be absolutely fine. I hope actually your stay will be really fine. I wish you all the very best. If you have any questions, you can ask me in this regard. Thank you very much. Any questions if you have?
No questions? At least whatever Sir has mentioned, you keep it in mind, not just for 4 years, throughout your life. It will definitely help during your work as well as during your stay here. Has anyone seen the board related with ICC anywhere now in the last 3 days? We have a board giving you information about all the ICC members next to the lift of this block. Left side wing lift, there's a board. Go have a look during break. Similarly, we have a board in the environmental block entrance mentioning all the members and also what is not acceptable. Okay. I would like to thank Professor Suresh for this wonderful session on prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. Give him a big round of applause. I request Dr. Brinda to present the nominee.
Oh,